Hey guys, how's it going? I have a super cool video for you guys today. I mentioned in a video, I think about a week ago, that I was going to have a new video series that I was going to do once a week. Here it is. We're going to be breaking down the individual matchups. And yes, you heard me correctly. I plan on doing this once a week for each upcoming game, except for the bye week, of course. I think the easiest way to explain this is going to be just breaking it down as I go for this first episode. I think you guys are going to love it. It's super cool, not to toot my own horn, but I think it is absolutely awesome. Now, before I get into things, be sure to smash that like button, leave a comment down below, and subscribe for the best Patriots content on YouTube. Before we get into this video, be sure to check out one of the coolest Patriots websites I've ever found, Patriots Dissect. They post really awesome news articles that I agree with. I've actually looked at quite a few of them, and they're all really good. A lot of them include footage, especially of Mac Jones and some other matchups and players during the preseason. I'm really excited to see what they post during the regular season. That's going to be in the pinned comment down below for you guys to check out. I highly recommend at least giving it a look because I think it's a really cool Patriots news website with a lot of awesome breakdowns. By the way, we did use Pro Football Focus grades to grade each of these players. This is not my opinion. This is Pro Football Focus's opinion, but we're not going to be including the actual grades because I'm not allowed to make a photo with every single grade on it. Otherwise, who would buy Pro Football Focus if you could find it for free? So I recommend you guys check it out in the description down below, by the way, because I've been loving it. I'm not sponsored by them or anything. I just wanted to mention that it's really cool. So let's just add the Patriots lineup here. Let's talk about this scheme I expect them to play in as well. So we can see we have two wide receivers and then two tight ends. Look, Boston Tea Party guys 2.0, here we go. I think they're going to be playing a lot of the game with two tight ends. Now, obviously, there's going to be a lot of situations where they have three wide receivers or a running back and a fullback and only one tight end. There's going to be all sorts of different schemes. I'm just going to be going based off of what I think is the best Patriots lineup, and then I'm going to be using that to determine what would be the best Dolphins lineup to kind of defend that, because obviously the defenders usually just react to the offense. The offense doesn't pick a scheme based on what the defense is doing. The defense changes their scheme to match what the offense is doing. So we start with the offense here. Okay, two tight ends, all five linemen, obviously, two wide receivers, Harris at running back, Jones at quarterback. Let's add the Dolphins on screen here, and I expect them to be kind of in an interesting defense to react to this. They're going to have two defenders, one on each tight end, and then two cornerbacks. So this is kind of like a base lineup, but I think they bring one safety down to defend one of the tight ends, whether it's zone or man coverage. And then they're going to have one deep safety, which I expect to be Eric Rowe, which we're all familiar with, kind of in the deep safety. We know they've played cover one against us where they have one safety deep, and they've actually done really well in the past with that kind of a lineup. So I expect that to be a lot of what we see if we decide to run the two tight end set. Now, look, I might be completely wrong. They might not even play one snap in this two tight end set. I think that'd be stupid because we have two really good tight ends. So I do think that it would be best to utilize both of them. But who knows what we're going to do. It's the Patriots. They're going to change it up every week. But I'm just going to be going based off of this. If they don't really do it, next week we will adjust and go based off of what they've been doing in the first game. But we're kind of going in blind right now. Now, we're just going to go over the individual matchups. Let's talk about how this is going to work. Let's start with the DBs and the receivers. So as you can see, there's a black line indicating who's covering who. So we see Howard would be covering Nelson Aguilar, Jones would be covering Jacoby Myers there, and then Holland, their rookie safety, would be covering Henry. Now, I tried to look into Holland. I think he's a little bit stronger and bigger than Rowe. They don't really have a good safety to cover the tight ends, which is really good. They're going to have trouble finding two separate guys that are good in coverage that also are going to be big enough to defend the two of them. Their linebackers aren't very good in pass coverage. Their safeties aren't really big to cover the tight ends. It's going to be a mismatch no matter how you draw it up, I think. So that's how this goes. But I think Jones is going to beat out Jacoby Myers. I think Jones is a little bit better there. I also think Howard is better than Nelson Aguilar. So our two wide receivers are going to be mostly shut down. I expect especially Howard to shut down Nelson Aguilar. Jacoby Myers might do some work against Byron Jones, but overall, I expect Jones on the day when we look back to win that matchup. I think Henry would absolutely dominate Holland in this situation. Maybe they'll get a linebacker on him and it'll be a little bit better. I'm obviously more familiar with the Patriots than the Dolphins, so if there is any Dolphins fans watching this video, which I think it would still be useful for you guys to watch, don't be mad at me if I picked the wrong guy to cover Henry, but I'm more familiar with the Patriots than the Dolphins. I couldn't really find a good defender to put on Henry. All right, now we're going to add a lot to the screen. It's going to get really complicated here, guys. This one, we're going to rank the matchups here with the tight end, the other tight end, Smith, obviously, and then the offensive line versus the defensive line. Linebackers, safeties, quarterback, running back, we can't really put a matchup on that, so we can't really say, which side is going to do better because everybody's trying to tackle the running back. Everybody's trying to cover against the quarterback. The D safety is trying to defend against everybody, so there's not really a matchup there. So let's add that on screen now. I think Smith, I think Van Ginkel or Von Ginkel or however you say his name. I've never really heard of him. I think he's probably going to cover Smith. It seems like he's more of their outside, little bit of coverage linebacker. It might be Roberts, it might be Baker, but Baker and Roberts struggled last season according to Pro Football Focus. Their grades are really bad. So I think it'd be a bad idea to put them against Smith, who is our best tight end, in my opinion. I think he's a little bit better than Henry. Even if Henry's better, they're both really good, so it doesn't really matter. Van Ginkel had a pretty good pass coverage rate grade last season, so I think he could do okay against Smith, but I still think Smith wins that lineup. Now, offensive line, defensive line here. I think the only matchup where the Dolphins win is Davis at the nose tackle position here. Andrews, his grade has been a little bit lower recently. I do expect there's a possibility he has a really good bounce back here, and he is really good. If that is the case, then he is going to get the green arrow as well over Davis. But right now, according to Pro Football Focus, on the most recent Andrews grade, Davis does have the edge over him. But Wynn, Onwenu, Brown, Mason, all four of those guys are not only better than the Dolphins' defensive linemen, they're actually significantly better. And it's hard to say who exactly would be matched up with who, but I am going to reference a few grades here on this defensive line versus offensive line here. Wynn is a 82.6 grade, which is 11th in the league at left tackle here. Phillips is a rookie, so we can't really say exactly where he ranks, but I'm guessing it won't be 82.6 or above, obviously. For a rookie, that would be absolutely incredible. Really good. He would have to be extremely good, especially at that outside linebacker position. They don't get graded as high according to Pro Football Focus. Wilkins is a 68.9 at that right tackle position. Onwenu is an 84.3. So you can see there's a massive difference there. Davis is a 71.1 and Andrews is a 67.7. So that's a lot closer, but Davis is a little bit better, as you can see. Mason is an 85.4, our best offensive lineman, and Ogba, I think that's how you say his name, is a 66.4. Then Brown is a 68.9. So no matter who he would get matched up with on that right side, he is going to not, he's not going to grade higher than either of those guys. So just to mention a few individual grades. So overall, Patriots win this matchup, offense versus defense. I've seen a lot of people talk about how, the Dolphins, they're going to just completely destroy Jones. You got to get past that offensive line first, and our offensive line outweighs the Dolphins' defensive line. Point blank period. Unless there's some sort of massive shift in how they play versus last year to this year, it looks like the Patriots offensive line is going to do very, very nicely against the Dolphins defensive line. It's also important to mention, like I said before, the linebackers for the Dolphins are not very good either. Roberts gets a 29.3 grade according to Pro Football Focus, which is rock bottom awful. That is god awful. Baker, who I've always thought was a good player, he has a 55.2, which is more near average. So it's not completely bad. His rookie year, he had a 70, but it's been kind of down since then. But our running back, Damian Harris, obviously, he has a grade of 90.3 based on last season, which he did get a significant amount of reps, actually. And that's second in the league. So I think our focus is going to be run heavy because obviously the Dolphins win the two matchups outside. If we do pass, it's going to be mostly to tight ends and running backs. Those wide receivers on the outside are mostly going to be to get the cornerbacks out of the situation, but I don't expect them to get a lot of yards. I don't expect to see, either of our two wide receivers on the outside get, even really 70-plus yards. I expect them to have 50 or under individually. I think the tight ends, one or two of them could do good, over 70 yards. And then we could get quite a few passing yards to the running backs as well. But the thing is, I think we're going to have a lot of rushing yards in this game. We need to attack because our offensive line outweighs the defensive line, and our running back outmatches any of them. So I think with that combo right there, it's going to be a run-heavy game, and that's going to be our kind of key to winning this game. Let's flip the tables, though. Let's put the Patriots on defense, Dolphins on offense. Let's just talk about some of these formations here. The defense is kind of a dime look here for the Patriots because I do expect the Dolphins to roll out with one tight end, three wide receivers, and then the single running back in the backfield. I expect that to be their lineup. Their wide receivers are good, so I think they're going to play to that strength. So let's talk about some of these matchups. First off, the receivers and the defensive backs for the Patriots here. I expect that the Dolphins are going to roll out again with the four receivers, one tight end, three wide receivers. I think let's move it from left to right. I think Mills outplays Preston Williams here. We haven't seen a lot from Mills, so it's kind of like having a rookie. We don't really know for sure, but it seems like that's a good matchup for Mills and the type where he would kind of thrive. And I really, really feel like this is going to be, a matchup where Mills can outplay Williams. Mills last season at a 68.9, Williams at a 65.5. So it's close, but I think that's a matchup where Mills will likely win that narrowly. Jones, I think, is going to outplay Waddle if they do have him at the slot wide receiver. Waddle's a rookie, so again, it is a bit of a question mark. But Jones is our top rated cornerback on the team with an 80 ranking. And obviously, Waddle does not have a ranking because he's not played in the NFL yet. So it's going to be tough to say for sure. But I think Jones, with his speed and his play style, he's consistently outplayed receivers of Waddle's type, and Waddle is a rookie. So I think that's going to be a matchup where Jones is going to definitely get the upper hand there. I expect to have three safeties playing for the Patriots here. Duggar as a dime defender, and then Phillips and McCourty up top, as you can see. So they won't have matchups. They'll likely be in two over-top zone coverages. I expect Duggar to kind of follow Gesicki and really just defend him man-to-man most of the time. He could rush the passer in a blitz occasionally, but I expect that to be the coverage there. I think Gesicki wins that one for sure. Sorry if I'm saying his name wrong. It is one of those weird ones that I've never really had to say out loud, but I do expect their tight end to win that matchup there. Again, pretty narrowly, I think Duggar is a good matchup there, but their tight end is really good as well, so I do expect him to win that matchup. Jackson, look, this is his first year where he has to be a shutdown defender on the outside, the number one cornerback. And then we have Devontae Parker, a player that is consistently known for outplaying the Patriots. I expect Devontae Parker to outplay J.C. Jackson in this first game. And if J.C. Jackson shuts down Devontae Parker, watch out because he is a true lockdown cornerback, because this is a good wide receiver we're talking about here, one that we've seen Stephon Gilmore even have troubles with. And I feel like the Dolphins' key to winning this game is really focusing on Gesicki and then Devontae Parker as well, and really getting the ball to those guys. But there's going to be more problems for the Dolphins. It won't be that easy. So we're going to have to talk about why I'm saying that in a moment. That moment is now. Here is the defensive line. We're adding the defensive line and offensive line to the screen here. And as you can see, I expect every single pass rusher on the Patriots to outplay the Dolphins' offensive line. The one thing about the Dolphins here is that their offensive line is very suspect. Now, going over the matchup ratings here from Pro Football Focus, Uche, or it could be Uche or it could be Van Noy. I do expect Van Noy to play. Obviously, he's played really well with us. Didn't play well for the Dolphins. I expect him to come back and play well for us in our scheme again. He's not old enough to where he's at that point where I would say he's not good anymore. Purely, I think it's more of a scheme thing. But last year, he had a 60 with the Dolphins. And the last year he was with us in 2019, he had an 83.5. Both of those would outdo Little at the left tackle position's 44.1 rating. So I do expect that Kyle Van Noy would absolutely dominate on that left side. We have Christian Barmore, who is obviously a question mark because he is a rookie. But I do expect that Christian Barmore would outplay any of these offensive linemen. I mean, their offensive line, looking at it now, is so bad to the point where I feel like even our worst defensive linemen would still outplay their best offensive linemen. And that's how bad it is right now for the Dolphins in general. Wise Jr. is a 70.6, which is leagues ahead of the Dolphins' best offensive lineman, which is Hunt at their right guard position, 65.8, which for a guard ranks 51st in the league, which is okay that it's in that kind of average to good rating, but all of our players on our defensive line also rank in that kind of general vicinity. So yes, every single one of our defensive linemen, according to Pro Football Focus, outgrades the Dolphins' offensive linemen. So that's why I think we will absolutely dominate on the interior in this game. And again, we've heard a lot of people say like, oh, Mac Jones is going to have a really tough time with that pass rush. No, I think Tua is going to have a really tough time with our pass rush. Not because we're really great at the defensive line, which we are, but mostly because the offensive line is so bad for the Dolphins that even an average defensive line would really have an easy time getting to Tua. And I think that's a problem that they have not really addressed. So let's add all the other players on the screen here. Inside linebacker Dante Hightower, which is another huge addition for the Patriots. He was an opt out last season. Getting him back is like having the quarterback for your defense. So I think that's massive. And then we see Tua and Gaskin there for quarterback and running back on the Dolphins. And I think they're both going to have a pretty tough time in this game. So the Patriots get the edge here on defense versus the Dolphins as well. I honestly, looking at it on paper, and anything can happen. We can lose to the Dolphins, obviously. It's any given Sunday, right? But I feel like on paper, it looks like the Patriots have the upper hand to win this game versus the Dolphins on this upcoming Sunday. The keys to the game here is going to be, again, on offense. I'm just going to kind of recap here what I talked about earlier. But it's going to be mostly about our offensive line dominating their defensive line and allowing Harris and all the other running backs to be able to really dominate. And it's going to be a run heavy game. And if we do get into a position where we're going to be passing heavy, it's going to be about the tight ends and the running backs receiving for sure, which is obviously a strength that the Patriots have had historically. The wide receivers probably won't have huge games for our offense. Defensively, the key to the game here is getting to Tua, outplaying the offensive line and pressuring Tua. He's not a rookie anymore, but pressuring him into those sophomore mistakes, if you will, and really pressuring him a lot. And I think that would bring the worst out of Tua, obviously, having no protection. And really, it's going to be also about trying to limit Devontae Parker and Gesicki because they do outweigh us in those matchups individually. So that's going to be something we need to watch, certainly as well. Even though I expect that Jackson and Duggar will lose their individual matchups overall, I think if they can cover well enough, long enough, I think that our defensive line will already be bringing pressure on Tua, and that's going to be a lot of what's key during this defensive game, is really covering them for the first 1, 2, 3, 4 seconds really well. Even if they get open in 4, 5, 6 seconds, we should have defensive linemen bringing pressure on most plays within that range of time. So that's going to be the key to the game defensively. I think both of those matchups obviously are leaning towards the Patriots, like I said before. Let me know if you agree with this, disagree with this. Let me know what you agree with and what you disagree with down below. This has been really fun to make. I think this is a lot more of a technical video, obviously, and very complicated when you look at it on the screen, but hopefully it's understandable. If anybody has any suggestions for how I could switch this up to make it any better, be sure to let me know down below because I appreciate that a lot. But as always, be sure to smash that like button, leave a comment down below, and subscribe for the best Patriots content on YouTube. I will see you guys on the next video.